Meg had just outlined certain sort of key dates in terms of the timeline of the launch of Epidiolex. In terms of the DEA rescheduling, is there any reason to believe that there might be a delay in this, because that will directly impact when you can launch the drug?
No, we don't believe so. We know that the DEA has been taking a great interest in this medication throughout the regulatory process and have every expectation that the 90-day limit on their time frame will be met. And we are certainly moving ahead, planning to be able to launch this medication in the fall of this year.
And Justin, it's Meg Terrell. How broad should we expect this DEA rescheduling really to be? Is it specifically for Epidiolex? Is it for CBD more generally? And what impact will that then have on the ability of both you and other companies to do research on CBD?
Well, I'm not privy to the DEA's current deliberations, so it's difficult for me to comment. But what I would say is that what we have achieved here is the approval of a specific medication, Epidiolex, by the FDA. This isn't the approval of CBD oils or medical marijuana. This is a medication manufactured to good manufacturing practice standards. The safety and efficacy profile of this medication has been tested in clinical trials. And so the learnings from this process are very specific to this medication and difficult to apply more broadly to the marijuana space. I think what you saw yesterday was a clear statement from FDA that if you apply the rigors of science and go through the conventional drug development process, that FDA will consider and potentially approve medications derived from the cannabis plant just as they would from any other source.
In terms of CBD cannabidiol, Justin, and you were very clear in saying that the decision is very specific to this, not to the marijuana industry, but in terms of your learnings from this drug in the application of CBD for other treatments, for other diseases besides Lennox-Gastaut and Dravet syndrome, what are they, if any?
Yes, so there are a few things to say there. We've been working for 20 years on harnessing and understanding the application of cannabinoids as potential candidates for becoming new medications. Epidiolex is the first medication from GW to be approved by FDA. And as you say, it's been approved for two specific forms of childhood onset epilepsy. We are studying this medication in an additional form of childhood onset epilepsy. And more broadly, GW has a good understanding and a pipeline of a number of other cannabinoid drug candidates in a range of different disease areas, particularly within neurology. So we think this is approval not just as a landmark for Epidiolex and for patients who may benefit from this specific medication, but also a strong belief from this company that cannabinoids have a bright future in the form of other drug candidates derived from the cannabis plant across a range of other disease areas.
Well, Justin, we hear from scientists who would want to study things derived from the marijuana plant that because it's a Schedule I substance, it's harder to do so. What can you say about how much more expensive it was, how much more difficult it was in terms of restrictions and having to safeguard the substances there that developing this drug was for you guys?
Well, drug development is a complex process. So we are used to, in the pharmaceutical industry, going through approvals from the FDA in order to conduct clinical trials. So the real difference for a Schedule I substance is that approval is also required from the DEA. In fact, we've been carrying out research in the form of clinical trials for cannabinoid medications for about 10 years in the United States under Schedule I licenses. So I won't deny there are additional complications, but I'll also say that, in fact, this research can be done. And in fact, we're clearly an example of the fact that this research has been done and led to a positive outcome for patients. And I do want to stress that, our motivation here, the outcome of the news yesterday from FDA, is really an important new advance in epilepsy, and not just an important advance for cannabinoids as therapies. But, first and foremost, we care about those children with conditions like Lennox-Gastaut syndrome and Dravet syndrome, and believe that by doing research in the right way, we can provide science-led solutions for patients in need.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.